In the snow-draped town of Westport, Connecticut, a glittering Christmas tree conceals a family's cruel secret. When 8-year-old Liam's joy is threatened by his grandparents' cold rejection, his mother, Emily, uncovers a betrayal that could shatter their family. Will she find the strength to fight for justice and protect her son's heart? In the affluent enclave of Westport, Connecticut, the 10-foot Christmas tree in Arthur and Lillian Brooks' colonial mansion sparkled with handcrafted ornaments, casting a warm, deceptive glow over the snowy lawns of Elm Street. The dining room, adorned with royal Doulton china, awaited a lavish Christmas dinner, its elegance a hallmark of the Brooks' storied legacy. I'm Emily Clark, a 34-year-old realtor with a knack for closing deals in this competitive market. My husband, Jake, 36, earns $80,000 as a mid-level IT manager, and together we've built a cozy life in a modern colonial home 20 minutes from this elite neighborhood. Our pride and joy is our 8-year-old son, Liam, a bright, earnest boy who lights up our world. Liam attends Oak Road Elementary, our local public school, where his quick wit and kind heart make him a favorite among classmates. Inspired by my mother, a retired schoolteacher, I'm passionate about education. Helping Liam with his homework or reading bedtime stories has become my cherished ritual, a quiet rebellion against the hustle of my career. Every Sunday, we join my family for dinner at my parents' sprawling 1930s mansion, a symbol of Westport's old money charm. My sister Anna, married to a neurosurgeon, my brother Nathan, a sharp-witted attorney, and my younger sister Sophie, a university lecturer, complete the sibling quartet. Our parents, Arthur, a retired banker, and Lillian, a fixture in Westport's social clubs, beam with pride over what they call our suitable marriages. The mansion, with its white clapboard exterior and meticulously tended rose garden, stands as a testament to tradition. My father's career in finance and my mother's role as a pillar of the Episcopal Church paint them as charitable icons, but beneath the surface lies a carefully curated facade. We siblings share the burden of caring for our aging parents. Anna schedules their medical appointments at Westport General. I oversee home maintenance through Elite Property Services. Nathan handles legal matters like wills, and Sophie manages their investment portfolio. It's a well-oiled machine, but lately, cracks have begun to show. Liam has grown reluctant to visit his grandparents. "Mom, do I have to go to Grandma's?" he asked last week, his brown eyes searching mine. His words pierced my heart. While my parents shower their other grandchildren with expensive lessons and extravagant gifts, they treat Liam with icy indifference. At Westport Women's Club luncheons, my mother boasts endlessly about Anna's twins or Nathan's daughter, but Liam's name rarely crosses her lips. Our brick house, modest compared to the Brooks mansion, brims with love. Weekends spent tossing a baseball with Liam in the park or hosting backyard barbecues with Jake grilling burgers. Why can't my parents see the beauty in our simple joys? This Christmas, unease gnawed at me as we prepared for the family gathering. Standing on our balcony, gazing at the bare horse chestnut trees in our small garden, I felt a knot tighten in my chest. On Christmas afternoon, we pulled into the mansion's driveway, where Anna's sleek BMW already sat. Liam, fidgeting in his new navy sweater, a $20 find from Macy's that he'd picked out with a grin, clutched my hand tightly. "I don't want to go," he whispered. Jake, sensing his fear, knelt beside him. "It's okay, buddy. Santa's got something great for you. I bet," he said, his voice warm but laced with tension. Pushing open the heavy oak door, we were enveloped by the sense of roasting turkey, cinnamon, and pumpkin pie. The 22-pound bird was browning in the oven, its aroma mingling with the crisp air. My mother appeared in the foyer, her silk dress shimmering, a diamond brooch pinned to her chest. "Emily, you're here," she said, her tone clipped, barely glancing at Liam before brushing a cool kiss on my cheek. "You're late. Anna's children are already playing." From the living room came the excited chatter of my nieces and nephews, their voices bouncing off the high ceilings. Under the towering Christmas tree, a pile of gifts wrapped in shimmering paper promised a spectacle. But as Liam's small hand tightened in mine, I sensed the storm brewing beneath the festive glow. The living room of my parents' Westport mansion buzzed with the chaotic energy of Christmas. The 10-foot tree loomed, its ornaments catching the firelight, while my nieces and nephews darted around, their laughter sharp against the polished hardwood. Anna's twins, decked out in designer holiday outfits, were engrossed in a new gaming console, their fingers flying over the controllers. Nathan's daughter, perched on a velvet ottoman, tapped away at a sleek educational tablet, her face lit by the screen. Under the tree, a mountain of gifts wrapped in gold and crimson ribbons awaited, each one a testament to my parents' lavish generosity, at least for some. I stood by the doorway, Liam's small hand still in mine, his navy Macy sweater slightly rumpled from the car ride. His brown eyes scanned the room, wide with anticipation but tinged with unease. "Merry Christmas, Emily," my sister Anna called from across the room, her warm smile faltering as she glanced at Liam. There was a flicker of something in her eyes, pity, perhaps, or guilt. She beckoned Liam over, but he clung to me, his grip tightening. My mother, Lillian, swept past us, her silk dress rustling. "That sweater," she said, eyeing Liam up and down with a smirk. "From Target, I presume?" Her tone dripped with condescension, and I felt Jake stiffen beside me. "Macy's, actually," I replied, forcing a smile, my voice steady despite the heat rising in my chest. Liam had picked that $20 sweater himself, beaming with pride. Why did she have to tarnish it? Jake squeezed my shoulder, a silent plea to let it go. I swallowed hard, guiding Liam toward the couch, where Sophie sat, her nose buried in a book. She looked up, offering Liam a gentle smile. "Hey, kiddo, want to tell me about school?" she asked, but before Liam could answer, my father, Arthur, called out from his armchair, scotch in hand. "Emily Brooks, come say hello." His insistence on my maiden name stung, a deliberate rejection of my married life as a clerk. I forced a nod, my jaw tight, and steered Liam toward the tree, hoping the festive chaos might distract him. Dinner was announced, and we gathered around the dining table, its royal Doulton china gleaming under the chandelier. The 22-pound turkey, golden and fragrant, anchored an array of dishes: homemade cranberry sauce, green bean casserole, sweet potato mash, and a Whole Foods pumpkin pie that looked like it belonged in a magazine. My parents presided at the table's ends, their expressions smug as they surveyed their domain. Nathan launched into a story about a high-profile case at his law firm, and my parents leaned in, nodding approvingly. Anna's husband shared insights on a new surgical technique, earning murmurs of admiration. Sophie, ever the academic, wove in a point about cognitive science, and my mother beamed. But when Jake began to talk about a project at his IT company, my father grunted dismissively, cutting him off with, "Let's hear from Nathan again." Jake's face flushed, but he fell silent, his fork hovering over his plate. Liam, seated beside me, tugged at my sleeve. "Mom, can I tell them about my science fair?" he whispered, his voice eager. I nodded, encouraging him, but as he started to speak, something about a model volcano, my mother interrupted sharply. "Let's save the children's stories for later, shall we?" Her words landed like a slap, and Liam shrank back, his shoulders hunching. I shot her a look, but she was already turning to Anna's son, asking about his piano lessons. The table hummed with conversation, but an invisible line had been drawn, and Liam and Jake were on the wrong side of it. After dinner, the family migrated to the living room for the gift exchange. The fire crackled, casting shadows on the walls as my parents orchestrated the ritual with theatrical flair. Anna's twins tore into massive boxes, revealing the latest gaming consoles and cashmere scarves. Nathan's daughter unwrapped a coding kit and a tablet, her eyes wide with delight. Sophie's son received premium soccer gear, his whoop echoing through the room. Each gift was met with gasps and applause, my parents basking in the glow of their generosity. Liam watched, his hands clasped tightly in his lap, his face a mix of hope and dread. Finally, my mother turned to Liam, holding out a small, plainly wrapped box. "Here, Liam, your turn," she said, her smile thin and sharp. My heart thudded as Liam took the box, his fingers trembling as he peeled back the paper. The room fell silent, all eyes on him. He lifted the lid, and I leaned forward, holding my breath. The box was empty, a hollow, mocking void. "You don't need anything," my mother said, her voice laced with malice, her lips curling into a cruel smirk. Liam's face crumpled, his eyes filling with tears that spilled down his cheeks. The silence was deafening, broken only by a soft, choked sob. I froze, my mind reeling. This wasn't just neglect. It was deliberate, a calculated wound. Jake's hand found mine, his grip like iron, but his face was a mask of barely contained fury. Anna gasped softly, her hand covering her mouth, while Nathan's jaw tightened. Sophie stared at the floor, her knuckles white around her glass. My parents sat unmoved, my mother's expression smug, my father sipping his scotch as if nothing had happened. The air felt thick, suffocating, the festive glow now a cruel mockery. "Liam, let's go," I said, my voice shaking as I stood, pulling him into my arms. His tears soaked my sweater as I held him close, his small body trembling. Jake rose wordlessly, his eyes burning as he followed us toward the door. The family photographs lining the hallway, smiling faces from years past, felt like a lie, their frames mocking us as we passed. Outside, the snow fell quietly, blanketing Elm Street in a serene hush that contrasted with the storm in my heart. In the car, Liam curled up in the back seat, wiping his tears with his sleeve. "Why doesn't Grandma like me?" he asked, his voice barely a whisper. Jake, gripping the steering wheel, glanced at me before answering. "We love you, Liam. That's what matters." His words were steady, but I saw the pain in his eyes. As we drove away, the mansion's lights faded in the rearview mirror, and I felt a resolve harden within me. This wasn't just an insult, it was a betrayal, a line crossed that could not be undone. My parents had declared war on my son, and I would not let it stand. As Liam's quiet sobs filled the car, I realized this was no accident but a calculated act of cruelty. My parents' rejection of Liam and Jake wasn't just personal, it was a power play, a message that we didn't belong in their world. But I was done playing their game. This Christmas, I would fight for my family, no matter what it took to make them see the cost of their prejudice. As we stepped into the warmth of the mansion, my mother's dismissive glance at Liam cut deeper than ever. Jake's jaw tightened, and I felt a surge of resolve. This Christmas, I vowed to shield my son, no matter the cost. The glittering facade of my parents' world was about to crack, and I wasn't sure if we'd all survive the fallout. The morning after Christmas, our Westport home was quiet, save for the soft patter of snow against the windows. Liam, exhausted from a night of fitful sleep and nightmares, lay curled up in our bed, his navy sweater discarded on the floor. His tear-streaked face haunted me as I sat on the couch, my phone buzzing incessantly with notifications from our family group chat. The screen glowed with outrage, each message a spark igniting my resolve. Anna's words flashed first. "What happened last night was unforgivable. It's emotional abuse." Nathan followed, his tone sharp. "As an attorney, I can't ignore this. We need to act." Even Sophie, usually the calm academic, sent a rare emotional outburst. I'm appalled. How could they do this to Liam? My parents' response was chillingly predictable. Emily's choices brought this on, my mother typed, her words dripping with disdain. Marrying a man of such limited prospects was bound to cause issues. My father echoed her. "We've only ever wanted the best for our family." Their words twisted like a knife, blaming me for their cruelty to my son. I glanced at Liam, still asleep, his small chest rising and falling. He'd woken twice in the night, sobbing about the empty box, asking why his grandparents didn't love him. Each question chipped away at my heart, but it also steeled my determination. This wasn't just about one cruel act. It was a pattern, a deliberate campaign to marginalize my family. I wouldn't let it continue. By noon, my siblings and I had arranged an emergency meeting at Nathan's law office in Manhattan, a sleek high-rise with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the hazy skyline. The city's pulse felt distant as we sat around a polished conference table, the weight of last night's events pressing down on us. Nathan, in a crisp suit, opened his laptop, his expression grim. "From a legal perspective," he began, "discriminatory treatment of a grandchild can, in extreme cases, warrant action, potentially even a case for emotional distress. But that's a last resort. Right now, we hit them where it hurts, their lifestyle." Anna, her doctor's calm barely masking her anger, nodded. "They've relied on us for years. Who pays for their country club dues? Their charity galas? We do." Sophie, standing by a whiteboard, scribbled numbers. "I've run the numbers," she said, her voice steady. "Without our support, medical, legal, financial, maintenance, their world collapses." The realization was staggering. My parents' mansion, their social standing, their carefully curated image, all of it rested on our shoulders. Anna coordinated their appointments at Westport General, ensuring my father's heart checkups and my mother's routine scans. I managed their home maintenance through Elite Property Services, handling everything from roof repairs to landscaping. Nathan oversaw their legal affairs, from wills to property taxes, while Sophie managed their investment portfolio, keeping their finances afloat. We were the scaffolding of their opulent life, and they'd taken it for granted while scorning my son. We devised a plan, swift and surgical. Anna would cancel their medical transportation, citing scheduling conflicts. I'd terminate the maintenance contract, leaving their mansion to fend for itself. Nathan would withdraw his legal support, letting their paperwork lapse. Sophie would remove herself from their investment accounts, freezing their access to discretionary funds. It was a revolt, not born of vengeance, but of necessity, to protect Liam and demand accountability. They need to feel the consequences, Nathan said, his pen tapping the table. But, Emily, are you sure? This will change everything. I thought of Liam's tearful question in the car. Why doesn't Grandma like me? And nodded. I'm sure. For Liam. That afternoon, we executed the plan with precision. Anna called Westport General's patient services, her voice polite but firm. We're unable to continue transportation support for Arthur and Lillian Brooks. I dialed Elite Property Services, canceling the mansion's maintenance contract effective immediately. Nathan sent a formal email to their estate planner Control 368. System, we will no longer provide legal counsel for the Brooks affairs. Sophie contacted their financial advisor, her tone clipped. Remove my name from all account management for Arthur and Lillian Brooks. Each call, each email, felt like a stone cast into a still pond, the ripples spreading faster than I'd imagined. By evening, the fallout began. My phone buzzed with a voicemail from my mother, her voice shrill with panic. Emily, what have you done? The hospital canceled your father's appointment. The landscapers won't come. I didn't respond, letting her words hang in the air. In Westport's tight-knit social circles, whispers spread like wildfire. The Women's Club private forum lit up with gossip about the Christmas incident. Lillian gave her grandson an empty box? Unthinkable. And old friends began distancing themselves. At the Episcopal Church, my parents were quietly removed from the charity committee, their absence noted in hushed tones. The mansion itself showed signs of neglect. The rose garden wilted, a gutter sagged, and a leaky faucet went unfixed. But doubt crept in as I tucked Liam into bed that night. His eyes, still red from crying, searched mine. Mom, will Grandma and Grandpa be okay? He asked, his voice small. I kissed his forehead, hiding my uncertainty. They'll figure it out, sweetheart. Alone in the kitchen, I stared at my phone, my mother's voicemail still unanswered. Had I gone too far? Cutting off their support was meant to protect Liam, but it also dismantled the life my parents had built. Yet every time I wavered, I remembered the empty box, the smirk on my mother's face, and Liam's broken expression. This wasn't revenge, it was justice, a demand for change. The next day, Anna forwarded a screenshot from the Women's Club forum. Lillian Brooks has been uninvited from the spring gala. Nathan reported a call from their estate planner, scrambling to manage unpaid property taxes. Sophie's financial advisor confirmed the accounts were frozen, leaving my parents' country club membership in jeopardy. Their world was unraveling. And while part of me ached for the parents I'd once idolized, another part burned with resolve. They'd underestimated us, assuming we'd tolerate their cruelty forever. They were wrong. As I stood on our balcony, watching snow dust the horse chestnut trees, my mother called again, her voice trembling. Emily, how could you do this to us? I took a deep breath, my heart pounding. Why did you hurt my son? I asked, my voice steady despite the storm inside. Silence followed, her breath catching on the line. I hung up, the weight of my decision settling over me. The revolt had begun, but the battle was far from over. Would my parents bend, or would their pride destroy what little family we had left? 2 weeks after our family revolt, the Westport winter deepened, blanketing Elm Street in a heavy silence. Our home, warmed by the scent of fresh coffee and Liam's crayons scattered across the kitchen table, felt like a sanctuary amidst the storm we'd unleashed. Liam was slowly regaining his spark, playing catch with Jake in the backyard, his laughter a fragile but hopeful melody. Yet the fallout from our actions weighed on me. My parents' mansion, once a beacon of Westport's elite, was crumbling, its garden overgrown, its shutters creaking, its social prestige eroded. My mother's frantic voicemails had stopped, replaced by an eerie quiet that unnerved me more than her anger. Had we pushed too far, or not far enough? Then, one snowy evening, a knock at our door shattered the calm. I opened it to find my parents, Arthur and Lillian Brooks, standing on our porch, looking like strangers. My mother, usually impeccable in tailored dresses, wore a plain wool coat, her hair unkempt, her face bare of makeup. My father, stripped of his usual bespoke suits, stood in a faded jacket, his shoulders slumped, his eyes hollow. They seemed to have aged a decade in mere days. "Emily, please," my father said, his voice low, almost broken. "Can we talk?" I hesitated, glancing at Jake, who stood behind me, his expression guarded but curious. I nodded, stepping aside to let them in. The living room was cozy, lit by a single lamp, the air still carrying the faint aroma of the pancakes we'd made for Liam's breakfast. Liam was upstairs, playing with his model trains, unaware of the visitors. Jake set out mugs of coffee, his movements deliberate, his silence a shield. My parents sat stiffly on the couch, their hands clasped tightly, as if bracing for judgment. "We're struggling, Emily," my father began, his voice trembling. "The hospital canceled my heart checkups. The maintenance company won't return our calls. Our country club membership lapsed. Even the church, they've asked us to step back from events." My mother's eyes glistened, but she remained silent, clutching a crumpled tissue. I leaned forward, my heart a tangle of pity and resolve. "You've lived beyond your means for years," I said, my voice steady. "We made it possible, Anna with your medical care, me with the house, Nathan with your legal affairs, Sophie with your finances. Did you ever realize how much we carried you?" My father's gaze dropped to the floor, his jaw tightening. "No," he admitted. "We didn't. We thought it was our due." My mother's tissue shredded in her hands, but she said nothing, her silence louder than any defense. "Why Liam?" I asked, the question burning in my chest. "Why did you single out my son?" My mother flinched, her lips parting, but no words came. My father cleared his throat, his voice hoarse. "It wasn't just Liam. It was your life, your marriage." My mother finally spoke, her voice barely a whisper. "I couldn't accept it, Emily. A Brooks daughter, married to an IT manager? I thought you'd thrown away your potential, our legacy. Liam, he was a reminder of that choice." Her words stung, but they weren't a surprise. I'd known her pride, her obsession with status had fueled her cruelty. But hearing it aloud, in the quiet of my home, felt like a blade. Jake's hand found mine, his grip grounding me. "Jake is a better husband and father than anyone you'd have chosen for me," I said, my voice firm. "And Liam is the best thing in our lives. You hurt him to punish us." My mother's face crumpled, tears spilling down her cheeks. "I'm sorry," she whispered, the words raw, almost foreign from her lips. My father reached for her hand, then looked at me. "We were wrong, Emily. Our pride blinded us. We maintained our world, our mansion, our status, because of you all. And we repaid you with cruelty. I see that now." Before I could respond, a soft creak came from the stairs. Liam stood halfway down, clutching the banister, his eyes wide. "Grandma? Grandpa," he said, his voice small but clear. My heart stopped. How much had he heard? He stepped closer, his pajamas wrinkled, his expression a mix of confusion and hurt. "Grandma, why don't you like me?" The question hung in the air, simple and devastating. My mother froze, her breath catching, her eyes locking onto Liam's. For the first time, I saw true regret in her gaze, unmasked by her usual hauteur. She slid to her knees, her coat pooling around her. "Liam, I was wrong," she said, her voice breaking. "I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I'm so sorry." Tears streamed down her face, smudging the last traces of her polished facade. Liam hesitated, then walked to her, his small hand reaching out. "Don't cry, Grandma," he said, his voice soft. "You can borrow my sweater if you're cold." His innocence, his unearned kindness, broke something in her. She pulled him into a trembling embrace, sobbing openly, her pride shattered by a child's grace. My father stood, moving to the window, his back to us as he wiped his eyes. "We don't expect forgiveness, Emily," he said, his voice thick. "But we want to try. To be better." I exchanged a glance with Jake, whose nod was subtle but firm. My heart wrestled with anger and hope, the weight of their apology clashing with the memory of Liam's tears. "There are conditions," I said finally, my tone unwavering. "You accept Liam, Jake, in our life, not for show, not for your social circles, but from your hearts. And we'll need a formal agreement, notarized, to ensure it. No more games." My parents nodded, their faces etched with a mix of shame and determination. "We agree," my father said, his voice steady for the first time. My mother, still holding Liam, whispered, "Thank you." As they left, the snow falling softly outside, I felt a shift, not peace, not yet, but the possibility of it. Upstairs, Liam climbed into bed, his eyes brighter than they'd been in days. "Are they going to be nice now?" he asked. I kissed his forehead. They're going to try, sweetheart. And we'll make sure they do. As my parents' car disappeared into the snowy night, I stood in the doorway, Jake's arm around me. Their apology was a start, but words alone wouldn't heal Liam's wounds or rebuild our trust. The notarized agreement would hold them accountable, a legal tether to their promise. But the real test lay ahead. Could they change? Or would their pride pull us back into the same toxic dance? For Liam's sake, I was ready to fight for a new beginning, no matter the cost. 3 months after the Christmas that fractured our family, spring crept into Westport, Connecticut, painting Elm Street with the tender green of new buds on horse chestnut trees. Our modest colonial home buzzed with life, Liam's laughter as he sketched at the kitchen table, Jake's off-key humming while grilling burgers in the backyard. The scars of that cruel holiday lingered, but they were fading, softened by love and the slow, deliberate steps toward healing. My parents, Arthur and Lillian Brooks, once pillars of Westport's elite, were no longer the untouchable figures they'd been. Their mansion, stripped of its former grandeur, stood as a humbled relic, its rose garden tended by their own hands, its royal Doulton china sold to cover lapsed bills. Yet in that humility, something new was taking root. The notarized agreement we demanded after their apology became our family's new foundation. Drafted by Nathan and signed in his Manhattan office, it outlined clear terms. Unconditional acceptance of Liam, Jake, and our life, with our support, medical, legal, financial, and maintenance contingent on their adherence. Breach the terms, and our aid would cease. It was a legal safeguard, but more than that, it was a symbol of accountability, a line drawn against the pride that had once poisoned us. My siblings and I resumed our roles, but with boundaries. Anna reinstated medical transport for my father's heart checkups. I rehired a basic maintenance crew for critical repairs. Nathan handled essential legal filings. And Sophie oversaw a scaled-down investment plan. Love was unconditional, support was not. The changes in my parents were gradual but profound. Their country club membership, a cornerstone of their social identity, was gone, the dues too steep without our backing. My mother, once a star of the Westport Women's Club, withdrew from its glittering events, joining a local book club instead. There, she traded gossip for discussions of novels, her voice hesitant at first but growing warmer with each meeting. I never knew people could connect like this, she admitted to me one evening, a dog-eared paperback in her hand. My father, shedding the arrogance of his banking days, began volunteering at the community center, sorting donations and balancing their books. His face, once etched with entitlement, now carried a quiet contentment, especially when he tossed a baseball with Liam on weekends. Our family dinners shifted to our home every Saturday, the Brooks mansion too large, too haunted by old wounds. Our table, set with mismatched plates, groaned under the weight of homemade meatloaf, mashed potatoes, and apple pie, simple fare that tasted of love. Liam, his confidence blooming, would pass his school drawings to my mother, who pinned them to our fridge with a reverence she'd once reserved for her china. "This is beautiful, Liam," she'd say, her eyes glistening. "Can I keep it?" Her voice, stripped of its former sharpness, held a sincerity that disarmed me. My father, less vocal but no less changed, would ruffle Liam's hair, his gruff, "good job," kid carrying more weight than any grand gesture. Liam himself was the heart of our renewal. His cousins, guided by Anna, Nathan, and Sophie, rallied around him, their playdates filled with board games and hot chocolate. At Anna's house one snowy afternoon, Liam taught his cousins how to build a model rocket, his shy grin returning as they cheered his expertise. His resilience, his capacity to forgive, humbled us all. "Grandma's nicer now," he told me one night, clutching his favorite stuffed dinosaur. She helped me with math. I nodded, my throat tight, marveling at how a child's love could mend what adults had broken. Not everything was smooth. My mother sometimes slipped, her old habits surfacing when a former club friend called, tempting her to chase lost status. "Lillian, you're above that now," my father would say, his hand on her shoulder, grounding her. At the Episcopal Church, they no longer sat in the front pew, their former throne. Instead, they chose the back, their heads bowed in genuine prayer rather than performative piety. We strayed from what matters, my father confessed to the pastor one Sunday, his voice low. The congregation, once their stage, now saw them as equals, their fall from grace a quiet lesson in humility. Their mansion reflected this shift. Gone were the ostentatious chandeliers, replaced by Liam's crayon art and family photos, snapshots of us at the park, at baseball games, at our kitchen table. This Christmas, we'd agreed on a 6-foot tree, decorated together with popcorn strings and mismatched ornaments. "This feels right," my mother said, hanging a star Liam had made, her smile free of pretense. Financially, they weren't secure, retirement savings dwindled, and bills loomed, but they faced reality with a courage I hadn't expected. We'll manage, my father said, his tone resolute. We've learned what's worth keeping. The biggest change was their bond with Liam. At his Little League games, my father stood in the stands, cheering louder than anyone when Liam hit a single. That's my grandson, he'd shout, his pride untainted by status. My mother, once too proud to kneel, now sat cross-legged on our living room floor, helping Liam with fractions, her patience a gift more precious than any gadget. Thank you, Grandma, Liam said one evening, hugging her tightly. She wept, her tears no longer of shame but of gratitude. I don't deserve you, she whispered, but Liam just grinned, his heart wide open. As spring sunlight streamed through our windows, I watched Liam and my parents in our backyard, planting marigolds together. Their laughter mingled with the breeze, a sound I'd never thought possible. The empty box from Christmas, once a symbol of cruelty, had been filled with something far greater: accountability, forgiveness, and love. We'd won not through vengeance but through truth, setting boundaries that forced my parents to confront their flaws. There would be challenges ahead. Old wounds don't vanish overnight, but we were stronger now, bound by a shared commitment to family over pride. Standing on our balcony, I saw Liam hand my mother a marigold, her smile radiant as she tucked it behind her ear. Jake joined me, his arm around my waist. We did it, he said, his voice soft. We saved our family. I nodded, tears pricking my eyes. The notarized agreement had held my parents accountable, but it was Liam's love, pure and unwavering, that had truly changed them. As the sun warmed Elm Street, I knew our victory was more than justice. It was a new beginning, rooted in the heart of a child who taught us all what family means.